Look at what we have going on above us today. This is amazing. You can see a lot of the activity above. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see something fresh as I'm shooting. On the way up to Connecticut, going to a presentation. Jeff Brady, Pauline Cantwell, and Cindy, I can't remember her last name, sorry, but Cindy PIKOULAS. And they're giving a presentation at the Greenwich Library today.
Okay, I'm Pauline Cantwell, and I got this room today because you can get it. It's a service of the Greenwich Library. When you want to do a informative meeting, they let you use this space for free, and it's a very nice service because it offers an opportunity to get another aspect of issues. And this is one of a series of programs that I have been calling wild cards of climate change. But today we're talking about who owns the weather. And so I have led a peace caucus at the UN since '94. And I've been bringing the military issues to the table of the different fora there, to the Copenhagen Summit on Social Development in '94, and the Habitat Conference in Istanbul in '95, and the 10-year follow-up to the Rio Environmental Conference, which was in Johannesburg, and we're coming up on the 20-year follow-up. And I have learned that the military is never on the table at the UN. They just don't talk about the military, and they purposely leave it off. So I carry this bag around with the elephant on it. Somebody asked me the other day why I was carrying this elephant bag, and I thought, you know why? Because it's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And the military is the worst polluter in the world and the most expensive of all sectors. So if we don't talk about military, we can't really talk about how do we solve the budget problems, how do we solve the environmental problems. And I have been particularly concerned about the deliberate manipulation of weather and climate by military. And I believe that these climate mitigation programs began in the minds of our weapons engineers at Lawrence Livermore, Edward Teller, Lowell Wood, and that it is in fact a cover for a military program they're doing, and I honestly think they're creating an artificial ionosphere. And that would be to block communications of other countries and to enhance our communications. That's just my personal theory of what's going on, but I do know we don't have a yellow sun anymore. We've got a silver sun. There's so many metal particulates in the air that you can't see a yellow sun. And I do know that NASA and Navy have shot rockets from Wallop Island, Virginia, and one went over my house in Old Greenwich a year ago, September 19th, spraying aluminum oxide, and they tweeted it, that they were going to be doing this. So they're getting very open about what they're doing. Then they said they would perturb it. They would create a cloud and perturb it with electromagnetic pulses from HAARP. I want to introduce Cindy PIKOULAS from Long Island, and she is an educator, a teacher, and is an activist, and has been very concerned since 2001. Her husband was near ground zero when the World Trade Center was hit, and they've been doing a lot of research on what's going on, and she's made a lot of connections, and especially since the Gulf of Mexico oil spill this past year, or this year. And my first radio show was about that oil spill. And so it gives me pleasure to introduce her.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you. I just handed out some photos that we took when we first, and I'm going to steal your word, had our epiphany. But really today, all you have to do is look outside, and it's a massive aerosol assault. The lines, probably by the time we leave, I'm sure the whole sky will be whited over, because that's you, and you get that silver hue to everything. Like Pauline said, I first got involved, well actually no, my husband pointed it out to me in January or February of this year. And I am a teacher. I teach in Lindenhurst High School, and we live on Long Island. And I'm a reading teacher. And what that gives me is the ability to teach the students any issue pretty much that I want that deals with current events, because I get them ready for the Regents. I teach 10th grade. And usually through that, I teach about pesticides, I teach about organics, and I was 10 years ago teaching about global warming. I have since stopped due to my epiphany. So when my husband pointed out the planes in the sky, at first I didn't want to know anything about it. It was my initial reaction. That lasted about a day. And then I said, I have to see what's happening here. And our worlds have not been the same. We live, we breathe, and we try to inform everybody that we know. And like Pauline said, my husband was at 9/11, and he had his epiphany, I believe, about the state of the world back then, and he did a lot of research, made DVDs, and tried to tell people, and we were unfortunately confronted with a lot of what we're confronted with now. You know, you talk for a few minutes and then the eyes glaze over, and then nobody really, because it is a huge thing to comprehend, to think that they're doing this, why are they doing this, you have all these questions, and we're all so busy with the stress that's going on in our lives on a daily basis. But like Pauline said, when the Gulf War, the Gulf War feels like that, when it happened in the Gulf, the accident, I just was like, what now? And I went on a massive research, and I started researching the aerosol program and everything else, and I started noticing that there were a group of corporations that seemed to be involved in everything. They had their hands on everything. So one of the things that I found out, and I started looking at, and I called it the smoking gun,